Hello, folks. I am finally back with my shooting review of the Glock 48. I finally got a chance to shoot it. And I'm also going to give you thoughts on the comparison shooting with the Glock 43X as well. First things first, I do like these Ameriglo sights on this particular firearm because this is the only other Glock that I have Ameriglo sights on this. Other than that, it's my Glock 45. I'm just so used to the white outline sights. So these are the only other firearms that I have these particular sights on this firearm, and I really like the way the sight picture is. It's very quick. You can get target acquisition very well with this firearm, and it's got that feel of confidence. It does give you that kind of confidence that you can really shoot targets at a decent distance. One thing I have to point out is with this grip here, which is basically it's the same grip as the 43X. I had to get a little bit used to it because I'm so used to firearms with a thicker grip to them. And I think maybe Talon grips, the rubberized grips would help. And I think a lot of the problem was I had to usually have to use a tighter grip, which would help aid in my shooting because the most important thing is you have to have good grip and you have to have good sight alignment and trigger control. So grip is the first most important thing, and I just got away from that a little bit. Okay, let me just do a safety check on this before I show you the targets. Nothing in here and nothing in the mag well here. And while I'm at it, I might as well do the Glock 43X with the safety check as well. And you see the same. And I'll get you those targets. Okay, this first target here is warming up. This is roughly about 7 yards. And I was just shooting cold, and I just decided to just go for it and just do roughly like a 3-shot string and see how fast I could shoot this particular target from 7 yards, which is about normal combat range. When I referred to the grip earlier, this is what I was talking about, where my shots went pretty much off here and went off on the side here. I normally like to shoot within the 9 or the 8 ring, so I did pretty well, but I just don't like when they start to go off toward the left and down. And that usually happens when you have too much finger in the trigger. So if you have too much finger in the trigger, you think you're on target, but as you pull the trigger, it goes to the direction of the left, and that's something that is what I need to work on, and that's usually a lot of people, they have that same mistake. Going in the head area was more the same. I was doing the same thing just as I showed the mistakes that I was doing, but you have to have the right amount of trigger. If you have a lot of different firearms, you might have to change your particular trigger hold. So I like to shoot with the pad on my finger, but you have to have the right amount of pad. Too much in, you're going to be off to the left. Too much far out, you're going to be either high. In my case, it would be high and right. But if you get just the right amount of finger in the trigger, you would be able to get the right press, and that way you'll have better trigger control. Again, like I said, this is rapid fire for here, and that's the results I have. Now, on that previous target, that was the first, I believe, 50 rounds. Now I sent the target out roughly about 12 yards, and this is rapid fire 12 yards. Of course, when you rapid fire too much, you're going to get that spread. That spread is really out there at 12 yards. And that was just me seeing what I can do, see if I can hold it on target or get somewhere within the 9 ring. And as you see, I pretty much failed except for maybe once or twice here. But after I decided to, like, say, let me calm this down and shoot at a different pace, and I wind up getting fairly decent headshots for 12 yards at a I would say a fast pace, but a little bit slower than the pace here, a little bit more moderate pace. And of course, like I said, I made my usual mistakes with too much finger in the trigger, and that's what happened. You get these 4 that are out here. And of course, if you aim too high and if you don't have, and I remember doing that one. If you look at the front, well, it's not on this one. Let me pull that up. When you're looking at the front right here, if you could see it, I had my sights a little bit wrong. I knew when I did it, it was that the orange dot was a little bit too high and not centered with the rear sights. So when you do mistakes like that, you're going to get shots that are really going to be high and out. Now for the comparison, shooting about these 2 firearms on the Glock 48 and 43X. Both of these firearms are very, very decent firearms. They shoot very well. There's a slight difference that I see, maybe nobody else would see. And I don't think anybody else would notice it unless you own both of these firearms. From what I get with this, the 43X, it's a little snappy, but it's not all that bad. It's a little snappy. If you only own this particular firearm, you would just think it's pretty normal, that it's slightly snappy, but not at a great expense. When you're firing this one, this is not, in my opinion, snappy at all. What I feel is the slide comes back and it goes forward, and your sight picture is not disturbed. In my opinion, the sight picture is not disturbed at all. It's right back on target for me in an instance. With this, like I said, it jumps back on target very quickly. Even though there's a shorter distance with the slide, not by much, maybe about half an inch or so. I don't have the measurements, but if you look at them both, it's not going to be that much to determine that this firearm is extremely snappy versus this firearm being less snappy. It's not going to be that much. But I do believe with both of these firearms, they are extremely accurate. They're accurate for what they are in their size and their way of being compact. So what I'm going to do is show you some targets where I took my time and decided to try to get these targets together here. All right, this is for the 43X, and I really pushed this. This is exactly 12 yards. Taking my my time in a decent rhythm at 12 yards. This is the best I could do. This isn't bad at all. Again, I just have to watch my sight alignment, and I tried to center it as best I could in this particular area. On the upper portion on the headshots, I try to take my time and to shoot. This is, I don't know if you noticed, the 43X that I have has the regular white outline sights. So it was a little difficult to try to get it on target, but I did my best with that. Threw some shots outside here, and of course, like I said, that's probably a grip issue on my end. Now the 48, on the other hand, this is at 12 yards. I think I did a lot better. A lot better. Again, here's that issue that I was telling you about. I just have to tighten the grip. I have to remind myself that I got to tighten my grip and to hold that firearm and the dot on my eye level so it can be on target. This was the first string right here. This is roughly about 25 shots here. But where I really calmed down and started, this is the way I really like to shoot. I really like to shoot in this particular fashion where I take decent amount of time, but at a decent pace, where I can get these headshots like that. Unfortunately, there's my two flyers, my usual excuses for the reason why they're out there. But this with the 48, that sight picture on the 48 is really good. I suggest if you are getting the 48 or the 43 to go with the AmeriGlow sights, because I think that I'm shooting a lot better with these AmeriGlows. Like I said, I think I'm competent enough with the regular white outline, but just spend the money and upgrade it, and you'll enjoy your shooting ability with that particular sight. Okay, one of the bigger things that people have been talking about with both of these firearms is concealability. I've never handled the regular Glock 43, and I've never seen one before, but my understanding is the grip is a little bit shorter. I like this particular firearm because, as far as concealability, I don't have an issue with it because of my body type, but I like a full grip, and that's what the most important thing is, and that's the reason why Glock went this way with the full grip, and also it added the 10-round capacity. So one of the main things that I liked about the Glock having a full grip. Getting tongue-tied, sorry. Also, when you look at the 48 has the full grip with a little bit of a longer slide reminiscent of a 1911. Now, a lot of people are, when they are going to carry this particular firearm, I carried this earlier today, and I carried it appendix. I didn't have a problem because think about it, it's pretty much the exact slide length of a Glock 19. So I didn't have a problem with that. I think a lot of people are going to be worried about the grip size. I can see people carrying this in the pants holster or out of the pants holster at the 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock, and 5 o'clock positions. And I think that's where a lot of people are going to be most comfortable with, especially if they have like a button-down shirt, that they can really properly conceal that, especially in warmer weather. This, however, when it comes to appendix carry, this would probably be your best appendix carry choice, because you have a full grip, and if you're coming out of your holster, all you need is a very good grip. A lot of times when you have a compact firearm, that pinky is sitting out, and sometimes you might not get a good grip on the draw. Whereas when you have this grip here, this gives you a grip with you could feel as though that it's a full-size firearm. That's what I was trying to explain. The only problem that I can see people are going to have, and the only problem I'm going to really have, is which one of these to carry. If you have both of these, you're going to have to say to yourself, which one am I going to carry out today? So that's all I have on this, and the comparisons on the shooting, whether you can carry this well or not. And all that's basically it. It's a really good firearm. I think really Glock hit it out the ballpark when they came up with both of these. A lot of people complain and say Glock is this, Glock is that. And they're not being innovative. I think they really came out with their last several firearms, the 43X, the 45, and now the 48. I really think that Glock really has done what very well in the firearms industry. Well, that's all I have, folks. Happy shooting. #2A.